This is your Filipino radio experience in Las Vegas. PHLV Radio. PHLV Radio. Reeves Immigration Law Group now brings you Immigration Law on Your Side.
Magandang gabi mga kababayan. Welcome to another edition po ng ating Immigration Law on Your Side from PHLV Radio. Siyempre po, sponsored by our mga kaibigan natin from Reeves Immigration Law Group. Mga kaibigan, maganda pag-uusapan natin ngayong gabi. Aside from the updates na ibibigay sa atin ni Attorney Diza, ang pag-uusapan po natin ngayon mga kaibigan ay ang removal of conditions on a 2-year green card. Marami sa ating mga kababayan ang medyo kailangan malaman na, meron palang green card na ganito. Akala natin pagka green card na, ganyan na. Wala na mga conditions. Ano? Alamin natin kung ano at papaano nagkakaroon ng conditions ang green card. Because, when you become a lawful permanent resident of the United States, may hawak na po kayo ng green card. Pero ito po inakuha nyo sa pamamagitan ng pag-aasawa po. And your marriage is less than 2 years old at the time na ibinigay sa inyo ang green card, ito pala ay nagkakaroon ng mga conditions. Ano? Although you are able to travel, sponsor or petition your family members, and do a lot of other things, ito ay mag-expire in 2 years. So alamin natin kung paano ito matatanggal ang kondisyones na ito at kung paano in the first place nagkakaroon ng ang condition na ganito ang green card. So welcome na natin si Attorney Flomi Javier Diza, nanggagaling po sa Reeves Immigration Law Group Office. Nandiyan po sa San Francisco, California. Magandang gabi po sa iyo, Attorney Diza.
Magandang gabi Kuya Yo at sa lahat ng viewers and listeners natin, magandang gabi po sa inyong lahat at napapanahon ng ating pag-uusapan ngayon dahil ngayon ay buwan ng Pebrero, Feb-ibig daw, at
Feb-ibig.
Feb-ibig, malapit ng Valentine's Day at sabi mo nga ito'y condition dahil sa pagpapakasal o pag-aasawa ng US citizen at ito kung less than 2 years. Nung sila po or ang kanilang mga anak ay nabigyan ng green card at ang kanilang marriage ay less than 2 years, binibigay lang din sa kanila ng 2 taon para ipakita at babalik sa USCIS para patunayan na ang kanilang marriage ay hindi lang para makakuha ng green card, kundi ito ay bona fide, di ba? Tunay at totoo. So yun ang pag-uusapan natin, Kuya Yo, at titignan natin kung paano tatanggalin yung tinatawag na removal of condition dahil what will happen if the marriage fails, or
walang forever.
May forever, right? O may mga sitwasyon na walang forever, right? So kailangan malaman natin kung paano matatanggal ang kanilang condition na yan at mabibigyan sila ng instead na 2 taon, mabibigyan sila ng 10 taon. Kuya Yo? At eventually paano po sila makapag-apply ng citizenship.
Mm-hmm. And merong form mga kababayan na kailangang i-file ng I think yung mag-asawa mismo ang kailangan mag-file nito, pero papaliwanag sa atin ni Attorney Diza itong form I-751 and this should be filed para po matanggal ang conditions on his or her residence dito sa United States of America. Ano po ito, Attorney, form I-751?
Yes, Kuya, ito yung Form 751, ito yung petition to remove conditions on residence. At dapat ifa-file po yan bago mag-expire, bago mag-2 taon yan. In other words, binibigyan sila ng 90 days, within 90 days from expiration or before it expires. So let's say nabigyan po sila ng green card, mag-expire rather yung kanilang green card ng June of 2021. Meron po silang pagkakataon na tanggalin yon from March, 3 months, March to June para i-file po yung tinatawag na petition to remove conditions on residence. Ito po yung form na fill up pa ng mag-asawa, yung US citizen at saka yung resident green card holder. Pipirmahan nila yon at isasubmit nila with a corresponding filing fees and supporting documents sa USCIS. And take note ho, hindi po pwedeng mas maaga at as much possible, wag din po kayo malilate dahil pag lumagpas kayo kung hindi niyo po ifa-file yung petition na yan to remove the condition, the USCIS might terminate yung residency. And the worst part of this, Kuya Yo, ay ilalagay sila sa removal proceedings and you don't want that because it would cost you more money simply because you failed to file this removal of condition.
Mhm. So magandang ilagay na sa kalendaryo ang mga dates na yan para hindi makalimutan. But of course, kung merong mga sitwasyones na hindi may iwasan at na-delay pa rin, ay ipapaliwanag po sa atin ni Attorney Diza mamaya kung paano yan na ma-file. Pero yung mga documents, Attorney, pag nag-file sila nitong form na ito, ano ang mga kailangang dokumento na kasama dito sa pagpa-file na ito?
Yes, Kuya, aside from the form, form 751 at saka filing fee about $750, kailangan din na magbibigay sila ng supporting documents to show and prove to the USCIS that this marriage is legitimate. Very important yung joint documentation within the last 2 years din yan, Kuya Yo, because when the applicant went to the interview for the green card, nagsubmit na rin sila ng documents. So hindi na nila kailangan submit yung kanilang wedding photographs or yung mga proof that they went to honeymoon, dahil na-submit na yan, presumably during the adjustment of status interview. So what the USCIS wanted to see are documents from the time, the applicant obtained the conditional green card and up to the time of filing. So yung last 2 years essentially, very important yan. Ano yung pinaka-best evidence that you can provide? So yun ang uunahin mong i-provide. Siyempre yung number 1 dyan is birth certificate of children, di ba? Kung
anak.
So you cannot say na hindi tunay yan dahil tunay na tunay ito dahil may anak, di ba? Showing of course both the applicant and the US citizen as the parents. That's number 1. Number 2, of course, yung mga financial documentation, like do the spouse file their taxes jointly, right? So nakikita doon ng commingling of assets. Well, it doesn't necessarily mean na kapag hindi kayo nag-file ng jointly because for tax purposes, to minimize your tax payments, pwede rin yung filing separately as long as it shows that you live in the same address. So, pwede mo pa rin submit yung inyong taxes, whether joint or separate, as long as the addresses in your tax documents are the same. Now, pangatlo, pwede rin po kayo mag-submit ng yung driver's license or California ID showing that you have the same address. Very important din yan, Kuya Yo, di ba? So yung mga ibang kababayan natin dyan, it's really important for you to update your driver's license or state IDs kasi usually binibigyan ko yun ng 5 taon yata, Kuya Yo, di ba? So kung nakuha nyo yung green card nyo, at the time iba yung address po ninyo or lumipat kayo ng tirahan, kailangan po kayo mag-change ng address para po kayo mag-asawa para i-attach po ninyo yan sa inyong supporting documents. Very important din, Kuya Yo, yung mga joint bank accounts, right? Whether it's a debit card, credit card, ipakita din ninyo and make sure that you attach, kasama po dyan yung inyong statements, showing that there is there was a transaction. Hindi yung naglagay ka lang ng 500 dun sa bangko mo, hindi na yung gumagala ng 2 taon. So it should show that you use that bank accounts, to pay off or to pay your everyday expenses, right?
Okay.
Gasoline, groceries, stuff like that. So very important yun, Kuya Yo. And of course, additional documents kagaya ng mga utility bills. Let's say, bumili po kayo ng bahay o nag-rent po kayo ng tirahan, kailangan po yung mortgage statement or lease contract. At saka yung mga utility bills po ninyo doon, di ba? Kagaya ng gasoline or telephone, water, garbage, lahat po yan. Kung magkasama kayo, magbigay po kayo ng document. You don't have to print out or attach every single document, yung monthly statements, lalo kung medyo marami po yan. Pick a random, within the last 2 years, siguro kuha kayo ng 3 hanggang 6, na statement, lalo kung marami. So yun mga important yun, Kuya Yo, or if you have had travels, vacation, right? Whether within the United States or outside the US, you can show also yung mga tickets ninyo, right? Boarding pass, and siguro mga pictures that you guys are happy couple, right? Meron kayong mga selfies sa San Francisco or sa Las Vegas, sa casino, and you can also include that in the attachment. So it's really important that you document and convince USCIS that sorry that you deserve, right, to remove the condition and be given 10 years residency.
This is the time na kailangan pala talagang naka-selfie lahat at naka-document ang lahat. Attorney, isa sa mga itinanong sa atin ng mga listeners natin, because they've had an experience with relatives of theirs before, na hiningan sila ng salaysay or declaration from people that they know na para bang sinasabi na, ito kilala ko itong mag-asawang ito na talagang nagsasama sila. Is that still required these days?
That's a helpful additional documentation, Kuya Yo, lalo na kung medyo hindi marami ang document, na may present ng mag-asawa. For example, nakikitira po sila sa bahay ng kanilang magulang o mga kamag-anak, di ba? So hindi sila kasama sa lease contract. At hindi sila nagbabayad ng separately ng mga utility bills, di ba? Dahil syempre yung pinaka-principal owner ang nagbabayad at kasama dun sa kanilang binabayad dahil kamag-anak, kasama na doon lahat, di ba, mga utility bills. So wala silang, electric bill, wala silang water bill, wala silang garbage, wala silang homeowners insurance or any other bills. So except for probably, wala rin silang lease contract dahil, kamag-anak nga nila yan. So it's going to be very helpful, Kuya Yo, at saka lahat ng listeners natin that these people, yung homeowner, kamag-anak or anyone, friends and family members would attest that they know these couples are really couple and that they know that they live in one roof and that the relationship is legitimate. And definitely it's going to be very helpful, Kuya Yo, kung merong statement din ganyan.
Right. And this attestation na ito is ang format nito ay wala namang form or something. Pwedeng sulat lang, attorney? Pwedeng
sulat lang, yes, in a statement form or declaration or affidavit form. Depende usually kung konting-konti talaga ang aking, may present ng aking kliyente na documentation, I would rather require them or let's say may prior denial na, right? Or let's say may prior history yung case na sasabihin nila na deny na or nagkaroon ng finding na konti lang documentation, and affidavit or declaration should be required sa mga ganong sitwasyon. But if you have bunch of joint documents, then a simple statement or even handwriting with a copy of the driver's license of the affiant or yung gumawa ng sulat, that would be sufficient.
Ayan. Okay. So tandaan yan, mga kaibigan. Now, we will proceed to the question na I'm sure at the start of this program, mga kababayan, kayong mga nanonood ngayon especially, I'm sure itinatanong nyo na sa inyong mga isipan na ito. At nabanggit na natin ito kanina. Attorney, what if the marriage fails before the second year? Hindi talaga nag-work yung kanilang akala nila ay forever. So anong mangyayari ngayon, attorney?
Yes, very important yan, Kuya Yo, at nangyayari yan. And it's going to be very difficult lalo na sa applicant dahil ang rule dyan is that you marriage for green card, right? And you should show that this relationship is bona fide and legitimate. And there were situations, as you mentioned, na nag-fail yung marriage, hindi na sila magkasama or meron ng divorce proceedings or meron ng divorce, right? So those are the possible scenarios. So although the general rule is that the petition to remove conditions should be filed jointly by the spouse, meaning jointly yung US citizen spouse at saka yung beneficiary or yung applicant. But there are exceptions. Dito na pumapasok yung exception, Kuya Yo, if the marriage failed, at hindi na sila magkasama sa isang bubong, right? So ang pinakamagandang unang exception dyan is yung tinatawag natin yung hingi ka ng waiver actually. May mga sitwasyon where the US citizen no longer wishes to sign, right? Or they no longer live together. So the applicant, yung conditional resident, would request for a waiver. Waiver in the sense na the US citizen spouse signature is no longer required or is no longer be able to obtain. So hingi siya ng waiver. So unang paraan dyan, Kuya Yo, is yung good faith marriage waiver, right? So what you're going to provide here is that kailangan may divorce na. So this is also very crucial dahil sometimes, yung separation or separation alone, even if you have children together, right, you cannot file a good faith marriage waiver kung wala kang finality ng divorce. So even if you say, hey, may dalawang anak nga kami dito, di ba, so magpa-file ako ng good faith, USCIS will not approve your case kung wala po kayong finality ng divorce. So what I do recommend client is that lalo sa Las Vegas, medyo mabilis ang divorce, di ba? So mga 4 weeks lang yata, 6 weeks meron ng divorce diyan, or sa Reno, right? Nevada, generally medyo mabilis diyan, lalo na kung both parties will sign the divorce petition, right? Pero unlike other states, like California or other states where you have to wait for 6 months bago ma-finalize, or even more than 6 months with the pandemic, ang daming mga rejections or requirements, additional requirements. So then, tawag nito, magpapakonsulta kayo sa abogado at sasabihin nyo na, attorney, may dalawa naman kaming anak, right? Or marami akong documents, but we no longer live together. Then we cannot file a good faith because wala pang judgment. Finality of judgment. Now, then dun pumapasok, mga kababayan, yung second waiver, second option, which is hardship, extreme hardship to yourself, right? So you have to prove that, please remove the conditions on my 2 years, bigyan po niyo ako ng 10 years, because if I'm being, pag ako po ay dineport nyo or hindi ako bigyan ng green card, it would cause hardship to myself. Right? To yourself, or if you have children, pwede rin. Or pag magulang kayo, mas maganda kung mas marami kang qualifying relatives, meaning children, minor children, or parents. So doon po papasok ko yung hardship. But again, take note of the qualifications kasi hindi lang basta hardship yan. The USCIS requires you to prove extreme hardship. Right? So ang strategy namin mga abogado is that, lalo na kung you have a lot of evidence at wala ka pang divorce, right? What we do is that, okay, we'll file you a hardship para lang, you file it within the time frame, and then initiate mo na yung divorce. And then by the time that you obtain your divorce, right, you can request USCIS to change the what do you call this, yung reason for the removal of condition or the waiver reason from extreme hardship to good faith, lalo kung marami naman kayong evidence, di ba? So that's a good idea because the processing time, which we're going to discuss later, Kuya Yo, is about 18 months or more. So that's basically 1.5 years to 2 years. So if you initiate the divorce upon consulting an attorney, by the time na ma-interview po kayo or bago kayo madesisyonan, meron na po kayong divorce judgment. So that's a strategy. You file for the extreme hardship, right? And then file the divorce, and then switch that or request USCIS to change that into divorce kung mas marami kang enough evidence. Although, kung you have enough evidence naman for the extreme hardship, at ayaw mag-divorce, that's also fine as long as you are able to provide that, removal of condition, failure to remove your condition would cause you extreme hardship. So yung pangalawang waiver, Kuya Yo, right? Good faith marriage, and then extreme hardship. And then the third one, which we always also discuss here, ito yung tinatawag na battery or cruelty ng asawa. So kahit wala kang divorce, walang extreme hardship sa'yo, but you can also show that your U.S. citizen spouse, you suffered, as the applicant, extreme battery from your U.S. citizen spouse. Now, this extreme battery, Kuya Yo, could be in several forms, either physical abuse, then you have to provide either, police report or medical report, or financial abuse. You can show that, hey, ito yung document namin, nakita ko na punta siya ng casino at withdraw siya ng 5,000, instead na pambayad sa rent namin or sa, pag-aalaga sa bata, or sa aming mga pang-araw-araw na expenses, sinugal, di ba? So there's a financial abuse in there. And then it could also be emotional or psychological abuse, right? Or even verbal abuse, Kuya Yo, where, the U.S. citizen spouse would say, hindi ako magko-cooperate sa application mo at ipadedeport pa kita, di ba? Yung mga ganon, pananakot or itinatago ang Philippine passport. And these things happen, sa mag-asawa. And believe me, situations like that where client came to us and tell their stories, they just experienced horrible experience from their spouses. So if you can also provide provide enough evidence to show that there was an extreme abuse from your spouse, So hindi mo na rin kailangan ng signature po ng inyong asawa. So yun yung pangatlo. And then yung pang-apat ho is if something happened to your US citizen spouse, let's say wala pang 2 taon kayong nagpakasal, may nangyari na, namatay yung asawa po ninyo, you still have to file the removal of condition saying that, my husband is unable to sign the joint petition because he passed, right? On this date, he's the death certificate, and here are the evidence that our relationship was legitimate. So you still have to prove that the relationship is bona fide. So yun po yung paraan para ma-remove yung condition even without the cooperation of your US citizen spouse.
Mhm. And kahit nakakalendaryo ito mga kaibigan, paano attorney kung medyo nakalimutan ng i-file itong form na ito? Bago nyo sagutin yan attorney, let's remind our audience kung paano kayo makokontakt sa ating Reeves Immigration Law Group dyan po sa San Francisco. They also have an office at the LA area and syempre sa China and sa Philippines, dyan po sa Makati, mga listeners and viewers natin dyan sa Pilipinas. So pakinggan nyo po itong announcement na ito galing po sa Reeves Immigration Law Group para po makuha nyo ang mga numero at kung paano sila matatagpuan sa mga social media outlets. Sa pagbabalik po ng ating Immigration Law on Your Side, alamin natin kung paano ang gagawin kung na-miss nyo ang deadline, paano ba ifa-file ang mga bata kung sakaling hindi natuloy ang forever. Sa pagbabalik po ng ating Immigration Law on Your Side, dito lamang sa PHLV Radio.
Reeves Immigration Law Group has been representing immigrants for nearly 40 years. Reeves Immigration Law Group has been fighting for its clients through experience and expertise. With immigration lawyers you can access at reasonable fees even on Saturday. Payment plans are also available. Call us for your immigration solutions. We can do worldwide telephone and Skype consultations. Reeves Immigration Law Group, 1-800-795-8009. Reeves Immigration Law Group has offices in Los Angeles, San Francisco, China, and Philippines. See us at www.rreeves.com. Reeves Immigration Law Group, 1-800-795-8009.
Mga kaibigan, nagbabalik po ang Immigration Law on Your Side dito po sa PHLV Radio. Hatid sa inyo ng Reeves Immigration Law Group. I-follow and i-like na po ang mga social media pages ng Reeves Immigration Law Group. Hanapin po sila sa Facebook, Instagram at iba't iba pang mga social media outlets. Hanapin na rin po ang page ni Attorney Flomi Javier Diza para po ma-update kayo every time na merong nangyayaring mga breaking news sa immigration ay nandiyan po nakapost na kaagad sa mga socials ng ating mga kaibigan from Reeves Immigration Law Group. Mga kababayan, bago tayo nag-break, naitanong natin kung paano kung na-miss ang pag-file nitong Form 751, nakalimutan o hindi nila alam na kailangan mag-file. Paano po ang gagawin ng ating mga kababayan, attorney?
Yes, Kuya, before we proceed with that question, just to remind sa mga client natin at sa mga magiging client that we sa law firm namin, we set a come up, right? Parang remind kayo, kalabitin namin kayo, hey, it's time for you to remove your condition 4 months before it expires para meron tayong time frame to file and to prepare, yung mga documentation. So it's really important to have that. So kung wala po kayong abogado, it's good idea. Siguro may mga smartphones po kayo. You can put that in your calendar. Remind yourself kasi that's really very important. Kasi if you miss that, you don't want to be in removal proceedings. Now, assuming that for whatever reason that you fail to file the removal of condition, it's still okay to file the removal of condition. You just have to have some sort of explanation, di ba? Bakit po kayo, hindi nyo na-i-file? Probably you can have a good reason like one of my family members were victim of COVID during the pandemic, hindi nakalimutan, hindi na-i-file, or other reasons, But make sure to provide a simple or brief statement para lang makita rin ng immigration, and make sure also to consult an attorney kasi it's very important din na makita natin kung nailagay na po kayo sa removal proceedings. Kasi merong USCIS memo that failure to remove your condition, they might automatically terminate your green card and might refer you to immigration judge. At masaklap dyan kung nagkaroon pa ng order of removal ang immigration judge dahil based on the records, baka nakita naman na natatanggap ninyo at ini-ignore lang ninyo. Although siguro baka ibang tao nakakatanggap. So that's how to do it, Kuya Yo. Still need to file it, whether as a joint petition, as we discussed, with the cooperation ng U.S. citizen spouse, or they can also file one of those four exemptions o tinatawag nating waivers.
So, pwede pa rin pala. Hindi pa rin pala hopeless kung medyo nakalimutan nila. Na, lalo siguro kung may mga hinihintay silang mga dokumento or mga iba pa bago sila makapag-file. In your experience, attorney, how late is late sa pagpa-file na ito? Ilang taon?
Merong mga 1990s that I have clients for whatever reason, they thought that they're going to be in removal proceedings. 1990s, may mga 15 years, 20 years na, Kuya Yo.
Wow.
And they thought that, they're now married to another U.S. citizen, right? They thought that getting the green card through the new spouse, then we have to assess the case kasi green card holder pa rin sila. We don't really advise them to file another green card through the new spouse, lalo kung technically hindi pa na-terminate ang kanilang green card. There's a possibility na hindi bibigay sa kanilang green card with the new spouse. So it's really important sa mga kababayan natin to consult an attorney what is the best route, whether magpa-petition kayo sa new spouse nyo or file a late filing ng 751, which we do always recommend. That's better, Kuya Yo, yung filing ng 751 even if it's late, kasi once you get approved, right, then you can apply for citizenship the following day. Anytime, kasi you already established the 5 years residency. Unlike starting from the start, of course, another 751 under removal of condition yan. So basically, the answer is even how late, right, your failure to apply, pupwede pa rin ho mag-file.
Nabanggit nyo kanina, attorney, yung sitwasyon na meron ng bagong asawa. Alam mo, sa ating kultura ay medyo hindi masyadong mukhang hindi nangyayari palagi. But what if ganun nga, attorney, ang nangyari? Maganda nga. When we started this, you said na, ano nga tayo ngayon na love month. What if nga yung itong ating kababayan or yung beneficiary nitong green card na ito, wala pa sa 2 years, wala dun sa napag-usapan natin kanina, paano kung nagbago na ng asawa?
Right.
American citizen pa rin, pero yung green card niya, dala-dala niya ba yun, attorney?
Yes, dala-dala pa rin niya. Yung pa rin, Kuya Yo, either file based on the three, kung buhay pa yung kanyang asawa, based on the 3 waivers that we discussed, either good faith, hardship. The good thing about the new family, Kuya Yo, lalo kung meron siya panibang asawa, nadagdagan siya ng qualifying relative for the hardship. So kasi yung extreme hardship para sa sarili niya, pwede niyang gamitin ngayon, hardship para sa asawa niya who is a US citizen, lalo na kung nagkaroon sila ng anak, di ba, bumili ng bahay. So there's more hardship, so pwedeng gamitin yun as long as they can also show, Kuya Yo, that, in any of these waivers, kailangan pa rin i-prove ng beneficiary that the marriage was legit and bona fide. Right? So doon lumalabas yung tawag nito, yung suspicion ng USCIS na ginamit mo lang tong US citizen para makuha ng green card para pakasalan mo kung sino man yung gusto mo, but as long as you can provide bunch of joint documents, USCIS should not suspect that there was a marriage fraud. So essentially babalik pa rin, Kuya Yo, how you first obtain your green card.
Ang universal rule, mga kababayan, is that the marriage should have been entered in the first place in good faith.
Correct.
Talagang
That's
tunay.
Yes.
Yun ang tatandaan nyo, mga kaibigan. So, attorney, na-file na, meron bang interview ito?
There may or may not be an interview. Generally, Kuya, that's the reason why we are discussing this, just to remind our kababayan that they have to provide these joint documents, right? And na gustong tinitingnan ng USCIS whether this case will be approvable or will be sent to the local office for interview. Generally, kung maganda, kung joint petition po kayo, mag-asawa pa kayo, and you provided bunch of documents, most likely walang interview. The same thing with the good faith marriage waiver, right? Lalo na kung may mga anak kayo, may mga joint documents kayo, it just didn't work the way you wanted it to be, right? And the marriage ended in divorce. Posible rin ho yan na wala ng interview. Even with the good faith marriage, rather with the extreme battery and extreme cruelty, posible rin walang interview as long as you are able to document, those evidence na nabanggit natin. 90% of the time, Kuya Yo, during Obama's time, right, wala nang interview. Malas mo na lang kung magkaroon ng random kasi I had a client in the past where may anak itong kliyente ko and they were still called for an interview, and I said, what's the need for this interview? And this officer said, well, it's a random. We can do anything, right? So, posible pa rin. But most likely, if you're going to provide and present a well-documented packet, 751 packet with joint documents, then most likely walang interview. So, makukuha ka na lang ng 10 years na green card in the mail. Or, yung iba naman, Kuya Yo, kung kulang ka ng evidence, they even request for further evidence instead of sending your file to USCIS. Take note sa mga kababayan natin, Kuya Yo, during Trump's time, marami silang ini-interview kaya medyo tumatagal, di ba? Lahat yata nung panahon ni Trump, nagkakaroon ng interview before the pandemic. But then, ang processing time tumagal din. Dati 1 year lang yan, ngayon 18 months. So once you file the removal of condition with the joint documentation, Kuya Yo, as a regular packet, makakatanggap mga aplikante ng resibo, right, that says dun mismo that your green card is extended for 18 months. So, work authorized, travel authorized. Ano ibig sabihin nito? So, kung ang employer po ninyo, sinisita kayo na expired na yung green card, yung actual green card nyo, right, you can provide that evidence, that piece of paper saying na extended kayo ng 18 months. And the good thing also, Kuya Yo, is that you can use that to travel, right? So, hindi mo na kailangan ng yung green card expired na, dalhin mo lang yung one piece of paper, yung receipt na sinasabi natin, then you are allowed to travel with that. Hindi mo na kailangan ng advance parole or entry permit. That piece of paper, that receipt, that allows you to, that the evidence that you are allowed to travel and to work within 18 months should be enough. Now, the other good question, Kuya Yo, is that may mga sitwasyon, lalo nung last year, yung panahon ng Donald Trump, where 18 months na wala pa yung kanilang green card. So people are panicking, right? Ano mangyayari sa akin, attorney? Nagtatrabaho ako sa airport, right? Very strict po yan. Lalo na, part ako ng DHS or security, blah, blah. Kailangan ko ng evidence that I am allowed to work. So in that situation, hindi mo kasalanan yan. Kasalanan ng USCIS because they're processing beyond processing time. So what we do is that we call USCIS, set an InfoPass appointment. Ano yung InfoPass? Ito yung magipag-usap ka sa supervisor sa immigration mismo para tatakan yung passport nyo at bibigyan kayo ng another 1 year. So yun po ang paraan. And that stamp on your passport, yung I-551, right, ibig sabihin the proof that you're a green card holder will be extended for another year. It's an evidence that you are a green card holder, where you can present that to your employer and use that to travel outside the US.
So mga kababayan, tandaan, 18 months or more ang application,
Correct.
ang processing na ito. Attorney, nabanggit natin bahagya kanina, filing for children. I would assume na itong children na pinag-uusapan natin ay non-US citizen children.
Yes, anak ko ng beneficiary. So for example, di ba, nabanggit natin na yung mga bata pwedeng petitionin ng step parent, if they are below 18 at the time of the marriage. And lalo kung kasama din sa petition whether they obtain that overseas through the consular processing or here through adjustment of status, kasama ang mga bata. So since or if the marriage is less than 2 years, pareho sila, bibigyan din sila ng 2 years, Kuya Yo. So once,
kailangan din nilang mag-apply ng itong pagtanggal ng condition na ito.
Yes, Kuya Yo. The good thing is that kung kasama sila, sabay sila, right? Kasabay sila nakakuha ng green card, same yung kanilang green card expiry date, pwedeng isama yung yung magulang, yung principal applicant, yung mga bata without further filing fees kasi pwede mo check na these children are included. Pero kung let's say lalo na kung nandito yung beneficiary na ang green card niya and then pinetition dumating yung mga bata from the Philippines pa, di ba? At nabigyan din sila ng conditional green card and if it's more than 90 days, right, hiwalay sa nanay, then they have to file with their own. Ang pipirma of course yung step parent din. So ganun yung sitwasyon, they have to file their own separately kung hindi sila nakasama ng nanay dun sa petition simply because naunang mag-expire yung sa magulang na nandito. Diba? Kasi hindi mo pwedeng isama pa kuya yung mga bata kung hindi pa pa-expire, diba? So hindi pa napapanahon. So when the time comes, kailangan pa rin pumili yung step parent to file a joint petition to remove that condition for the children.
Mhm. Attorney, how do you deal with denials kung sakaling itong mga in-apply natin na ito ay na-deny?
Yeah, it's going to be a difficult task, right? They deny your case if you fail to respond to the request for evidence, which is very, unlikely yan kung may abogado kayo, right? Or you fail to go to the interview, that's kind of abandonment. Or the worst part, Kuya Yo, is that if USCIS does not believe that the marriage is legitimate, right? Or they conducted an interview, we call it enhanced interview or Stokes interview, where the parties are questioned separately and asked the same questions.
Iba ang sagot.
Magkaiba ang sagot. Or USCIS conducted a site visit, and that happens many, many times, right? They knock at your door early in the morning on a Saturday morning, where USCIS expects both spouse to be present, to be home, at that point, unless siguro, night shift yung trabaho po ninyo or panggabi, So they expect that, and sometimes gulat ka, early in the morning, some people would just say something na pagsisisihan nila in the future. So those are the possible scenarios where they deny. And of course, it's going to be very difficult to overcome kung mayroon kayong admission that the marriage is not legit. I'm not saying that you deny, I'm saying is that you be careful of what you say during the interview and of course during the site visit. That's also really very important. Attorneys coming in and explain to you the possible scenarios, right? Before, during, and after the interview. So either Kuya Yo, number one, or probably the other reason would be silang pareho nag-apply, di ba? Ang mag-asawa, yung US citizen at saka yung beneficiary. Dahil sa tagal, umabot ng 18 months, naghiwalay sila. So by the time na pinatawag ng interview, right, wala na yung US citizen, hindi na nagko-cooperate. Then what's going to happen to the joint petition, siyempre i-deny kasi, hindi na sumisipot yung US citizen. And that could also be a basis for denial, for abandonment. Now, what we do is that we can file any of those three waivers, yung good faith marriage, extreme battery, or extreme hardship. So pwede pa rin natin i-file based on those grounds kung na-deny yung joint petition ninyo. But ang caveat natin sa mga kababayan natin, as we mentioned, Kuya Yo, is that whether your relationship, whether this marriage is bona fide, yun ang question dyan. Now, if the immigration finds that the marriage is for convenience, right, at naggamitan lang o may bayaran, then that's going to be a very, very difficult situation where you have to consult and hire an immigration attorney to get out from that messy situation.
Mhm. Isa sa mga naalala ko on our previous episodes, alam mo mga kababayan, naalala ko lang ilang taon na rin kaming gumagawa nito ni Attorney Diza, itong immigration law on your side, and many episodes ago nabanggit ni Attorney na pagka nag-site visit at nakitang of course ang asawa mo ay malaki, 6-footer, nakita sa mga sapatos wala namang malaking sapatos doon. Naku, medyo delikado kayo doon.
Filipino size lahat.
Filipino size lahat.
Right?
Maraming mga kwentong ganyan, Attorney. At alam mo, sa Pilipinas ay napapag-usapan nila yung mga ganyang sitwasyon. At tayo naman ng mga nandito ay minsan nagiging joke na lang yung mga yan. Pero totoo yan mga kaibigan that these are things that you should be very, very careful about, sabi nga ni Attorney Diza. But if we did everything, Attorney, and then talagang hindi nangyari and you're already, told to go, you're in removal. Ano na po ang pwedeng gawin ng ating kababayan?
Well, the good thing about being in removal, Kuya, is you got two bites of the apple, right? So
Okay.
let's say you file a good faith marriage with USCIS or extreme battery or cruelty, and USCIS didn't believe your case dahil kayo lang siguro gumawa, hindi enough evidence. Then they refer you, instead of refiling, they refer you to immigration judge. The good thing is you can also, again, present your case before the immigration judge, and probably this time, right, with the help of the attorney, you have to provide yung hinahanap nila, right? So then we can renew your application with the judge. So then instead of the immigration officer, right, then you have to testify that, before the immigration judge, para kang nasa korte na, di ba, nasa korte ka na, magte-testify na po kayo, and you'll be subjected to direct examination by your attorney and cross-examination by the government attorney, and of course the judge will hear your case and ask some more questions, right? So it's going to be hard and difficult, lalo na kung the government, collected enough evidence to show that this marriage is sham or for convenience. I advise mga kababayan natin na if there are other relief for you, the good thing about being a green card holder, Kuya Yo, right, is that if you have other qualifying relative, is a new spouse, or a U.S. citizen children or parent, you can apply yung tinatawag natin 237A1H waiver. This is the difference between, finding marriage fraud while you're already a green card holder, right? Because you have a good relief when you're in court, yung 237A1H waiver. Unlike where you are still applying for an adjustment, green card ka pa lang, right? At nalaman nila na marriage fraud pala yung marriage mo, then there's what we call lifetime bar. So that's the difference. But the good thing about yung pinag-usapan natin ngayon, the removal of condition, is that don't let yourself, be in this mess. Kumbaga, lalo kang nalulublob sa kasinungalingan, right? Why don't we just admit, right? If the reality was really for marriage fraud, now you regretted it, and now that you have a new family, and probably most likely, you can apply for a waiver for you. So yun ang advice natin, because as an attorney naman, Johan, Kuya Yo, we don't advise client to continuously tell a lie, kasi part of our service as lawyers is also the administration of justice, right? And if there's other grounds and other relief that we can look into your case, it's not all too bad admitting that you committed marriage fraud, kung merong tinatawag nating other qualifying relatives. But nonetheless, if you tell us that this is really a legitimate marriage, and I have some cases like that where we fought tooth and nail na, ito yung evidence natin that, that this marriage was approvable. It was denied by the Board of Immigration Appeals. We went to the Ninth Circuit Court, and the Ninth Circuit remanded back, and we were able to prove otherwise na this is really a legitimate marriage. There was some problem lang siguro along the way, right? Dahil sa ibang abogado or hindi nagkaintindihan sa abogado. But eventually, we were able to prove that. So, ganun yung process, Kuya Yo. And sa mga kababayan natin who were able to obtain green card, it's kind of 50-50, di ba? Yung isang paa mo nasa citizenship na, malapit ka na mag-citizen. Yung isang paa mo is you're still in the brink of removal if you don't do it right. So yun lang kinaganda ng 751 o yung removal of condition, because you have more options, right, compared to those applying for adjustment of status.
All right. So mga kababayan, alam mo, yung mga pinag-uusapan namin ni attorney ngayon, it ties up with several other episodes ng immigration law on your side. Katulad po nung fraud na yan, a few episodes ago na pag-usapan natin yan. So mangyari lamang po na balikan ang ibang mga episodes ng immigration law on your side. Nandito po sa PHLV Radio. And they're also available as podcasts on iHeartRadio, Spotify, and Apple Podcast. Para mapakinggan nyo kung nagdadrive kayo at hindi makapanood, ay pwede nyo pakinggan lang sa mga podcast natin. At marami kaming napag-usapan na ni attorney over many years of we've been doing this. So maraming salamat sa pagtutok po ninyo. Attorney, at this point, excited ang ating mga kababayan na malaman sa inyo kung ano yung mga updates ngayon. time is ticking at every single day. Maraming mga nangyayari in terms of especially our new administration. And then we've had a confirmation already of the mga cabinet officials natin over the past few days. Ano po ang mga updates natin hinggil sa immigration, attorney?
Yes, Kuya Yo, true to his promise, President Biden started, implementing and providing executive orders on immigration, kasama dyan, I think napag-usapan natin sa nung ibang episode, yung DACA remain in place, yung sa tawag ito sa immigration reform naman, he provided his what do you call it, his plan before the Congress. So kailangan natin ng congressional act po yan para maging effective. In fact, yun ang pinakahintay nating lahat, and hopefully pag dumating yan, kulang isang oras natin discuss. Hopefully kung darating yan, at discuss kung ano yung mga qualifications. Sa mga kababayan natin naghihintay, what we do is for now, ang Reeves Immigration Law Group, we do offer free consultation to assess your case. Tignan po natin. And we don't promise you anything, and we don't offer you something na wala pa. And we don't want to be getting money from you na wala pa naman yung reform na yan, because we don't know if it applies to you or not. But of course, it's a good preliminary na, Kuya Yo, para malaman din natin yung background po ninyo, kailan kayo dumating, yung mga ganon. May kopya pa ba kayo ng I-94 ninyo, yung mga visa po ninyo, yan pa, anong pangalan ng gamit nyo. Para malaman natin, may screen na po natin preliminarily. And then our office keeps a record for possible prospective comprehensive immigration reform clients, kagaya po ng mga client na tumatawag sa atin, right? So magandang idea po yan, and we keep on looking at the immigration reform. Marami na po ongoing na mga executive orders ng ating Pangulo. Although bihira dyan ang applicable sa ating mga kababayan dito, marami dyan yung mga sa asylum, marami dyan sa mga naghihintay ng asylum on the border, they are now in place. Yung public charge, Kuya Yo, it's still in place. Yung kay Donald Trump, when you're applying for a green card, there is a proposal also from the American Immigration Lawyers Association to lift yung ban ni Trump, yung pandemic, di ba? Yung suspension of the entry of immigrants and non-immigrants extended until March. Ano na tayo in February, 2 buwan pa. So hopefully, the president will lift the suspension para makarating na po dito yung mga naghihintay, ng interview sa Manila. So yun po, keep on listening and watching PHLV Radio, and as Kuya Yo mentioned, yung ating mga social media accounts, Reeves Immigration Law Group, FJ Diza, U.S. Immigration Attorney, our website at rreeves.com. I-Google search lang po ninyo kami. Makikita po ninyo, we keep on updating our social media platforms regarding immigration updates.
Mm-hmm. So mga kaibigan, i-bookmark na yan yung pati yung website ni Attorney Diza, rreeves.com, para malaman ang mga updates. So marami pang mga pag-uusapan tayo sa immigration law on your side sa mga susunod na episodes. So make sure that you are here with us again. We are here every Wednesday, 7 p.m. Pacific Time. Pareho kaming Pacific Time ni Attorney Diza. Marami tayong mga bagong listeners over the sa East Coast. Maraming salamat din sa pagtutok nyo. 10 o'clock na ng gabi dyan sa inyo. And sa Pilipinas naman ay 11 in the morning of Thursday. Magdi-DST na sa susunod na buwan. So gagalaw na naman po yan yung mga nakatutok sa atin dyan sa Pilipinas. But we'll keep you informed kung paano nyo kami matututukan dito sa immigration law on your side. Attorney, patuloy pa rin po ba ang ating free legal consultation sa ating law firm?
Yes, Kuya, we offer a free legal consultation by telephone, Zoom, and Skype or Messenger. In-offer natin sa ating mga kababayan. Worldwide po tayo. So just set an appointment with us and we will call you for a free legal consultation. You'll be speaking with immigration attorneys and immigration law specialists sa aming opisina. There are about more than 10 lawyers who you can speak to.
Mm-hmm. So, Attorney, maraming salamat muli para sa ating yung ating mga updates and napaliwanag nyo sa ating mga kababayan, especially those who are under this particular green card na merong conditions. So at least nakapagbigay po tayo ng information sa kanila. I'll give you the floor, attorney, to address our audience at mga fans nyo, attorney. Baka gusto patingin.
Yes, Kuya Yo. At sa mga viewers and listeners, maraming salamat Kuya Yo sa patuloy niyong din pag-imbita sa amin para magsalita at mag-update ng US immigration updates dito sa inyong page sa PHLV Radio. Tangkilikin po natin ang PHLV Radio at sa lahat ng mga programa, ang magagandang programa ang PHLV Radio po. At sabi nga natin na papakinggan po natin sila while we are at work. Pwede nating i-search or sa website ninyo Kuya Yo, makinig tayo online, right, or through sa app nila, if you're traveling, we can also listen to not only to magagandang programa pero magagandang tugtuging Pilipino, musika Pilipino. So patuloy po natin pakinggan at panoorin ang PHLV Radio. At again, sa mga viewers and listeners natin nandito, there are about 12 million undocumented, or out of status Filipino clients. Marami tayo din dyan, certain big percentage of undocumented and out of status nating mga kababayan. It's time for you, right? This is the best time to consult an immigration attorney since we offer free consultation. Tignan po natin kung kayo po ay mayroong paraan para ma-legalize ng status dito, or kung hindi man ngayon, hopefully we're looking forward to the Biden's administration immigration policy. Marami pong salamat at magandang gabi ulit sa inyong lahat.
Maraming salamat po, Attorney Diza. Nanggagaling po si Attorney sa kanyang opisina dyan sa San Francisco. And once again, we'll put it up on the screen, 415-568-3777. Yan po ang telepono kailangan nyo i-dial kung gusto nyo po makausap ang ating mga kaibigan from Reeves Immigration Law Group. And syempre, meron din silang opisina dyan sa Philippines and China and dito sa Los Angeles area. Again, mga kaibigan, maraming salamat po sa pagtutok sa immigration law on your side right here at PHLV Radio. Lastly, kung meron po kayong mga katanungan, huwag po kayong magatubiling ipadala ito sa atin dito sa PHLV Radio. info@phlvradio.com at makakarating po kay Attorney Diza at sasagutin po natin yan sa ating mga susunod na episodes. Dito lamang po sa Immigration Law on Your Side. From Las Vegas, ito po si Kuya Yo sa PHLV Radio. You have a good night mga kababayan and we will see you next time. Dito pa rin sa Immigration Law on Your Side.
Reeves Immigration Law Group has just brought you Immigration Law on Your Side. Wednesdays, 7 p.m. Pacific on PHLV Radio. This is your Filipino radio experience in Las Vegas. PHLV Radio.